we have a copy of what we talked about, and also I'll do translations of it all and all that sort of thing. It's really not a great angle of me, but I'm not going to have a camera in front of my face. That's just ridiculous. So, but when we talk about private stuff and all that sort of thing, I'm turning that off because the day is going to be broken up into a couple of different areas. So the first one we're going to do is we're going to talk about, well, thank you firstly everyone for coming. I'm super, super honoured that you're all here. I just knew that whoever was meant to be here would be here, and I was just driving up here just going, oh my God, I'm so excited to see you guys. So I feel like that, you know, you guys are such a gift in my world, and I just love every single one of you. So thank you so much for coming. I do actually have a gift organised for you, but it didn't arrive in the mail yet. So I'm going to get your addresses and I'm going to ship them off to you. Or when I come back, I'll give it to you. But you've got a little gift that I've organised specifically for you guys. So I'll get that to you. So we're going to start off with pretty much this work is the Universal Prophecies. So as it is, it's pretty much saying what is happening, what is going to happen, and again, what we think it is not what we think it is. So as you can probably also gather, the Universal Prophecies, it's like not just me, it's all of us, and it's everyone. I was wondering how you're going to go sitting in the sun.
Oh no,
you good?
Need to get a little higher.
Grab whatever
I'm just
you
doing
want.
everything in metaphors today. I need to get a little higher.
Not above any of you, above the hard floor.
Well, you can also, like, you can get other
I'm
mats.
thinking about sitting it like that. Right.
I spent a lot of time before in my events, and this was a lifesaver, getting a bolster so that my hips could,
Sit forward.
pelvis could move a little
That
bit
looks
forward.
great.
Yeah.
Again, if anyone wants to sit up
Move and groove. Yeah.
yeah. If you want to lay down. And this is the first time. Esther, this is the first time I've done something on the floor, which is really interesting. Cool. Well, I wasn't sure if it was going to be cool, but that's just how it is, and it is cool. Yeah, I was a bit kind of nervous even about that. So again, it was like, oh, how's this going to work? But it's just going to work, and we're going to be
There's plenty
great.
of furniture that we could move in here and sit on if we all can't. If our not 20-year-old bodies can't handle it in the next hour, we can go find something softer to sit on.
Yeah, and also I do want to get up and have a break and all that sort of thing. So, because I do believe that the work we're going to do is pretty intense, and so it'll take a little bit of focus. And again, it's going to be easy, it's going to be fun, but also, you know, again, we'll need breaks. We will need breaks to move through. So first off is just talking about prophecies and again what's happening with all of us, not just us but everyone. And then we're going to go into the future and look at different topics. And again, we've got the general topics. Now that's a really big topic in itself, is again what's happening in the world and what's going to happen and all that sort of thing. Again, it's always going to change because we all have free will and so forth. But once that is planted, then again, the universe will start working with that. And the more information we get, the more we're going to start to see those changes, because again, it's all about us. So you can see how important the information we get today is for everything else that happens around this. So, and it's just that flow of information. And then we're going to go into more in-depth questions and go deeper into all of these topics, and really until we feel like, yes, that topic's done. It's almost like we're kind of changing the world here, but just in our own little way and how we see it and all that sort of thing. Once that topic's done, then we'll feel like we can actually move on to other topics. And again, it'll be like quite intense as to what we go into.
Potent?
That's probably the best word. Intense wasn't the best word, but thank you for doing that. And then we'll have a little bit of a break. So I've got some yummy food that we can go out in the balcony. We just have a little walk around and chill out for a little bit. And then I'm going to go into more about you guys, like personally. So we're going to go into, we're talking about, you know, what your purpose is and all that sort of thing. It's such old, like, thinking, but I find it's more working with the brain, because the brain, and I'll talk about this at the beginning, the brain's processing has changed through pretty much since 2012. we've ascended. Like, you know, we've got all these physical and environmental, everything's changing, all the shift in the energy. So we are geared up to work completely differently to how we've always done things. So, but until you know that, then you don't know. So I'm going to be going through all of that, and we're going to be looking at your next steps. I mean, interesting you talk about your future you. We're going to actually be going into that. And again, once you can see it, then when you go into questioning the how, you don't have to question the how because you already know what that looks like. And then what happens is you start to get snippets coming through over time of more information about that, and then that starts to actually evolve into, oh, I can see how that happens. And because I've been showing something, and then the other week when I was over here last time, I was showing this beach, and I'm like, oh, that's part of the future. Like, and then we looked at the house that I was supposed to be in, and it's like that house doesn't even exist yet. But I know that that's what that view is, and I've never seen it before until I went to the quantum and actually had a look at it and saw that that's what it is. So again, going into your role, it's mainly just you being good with you having that clarity, the knowing, and pretty much we are not leaving here until everyone is super clear, super happy, but also know how to go into the next steps of all of that. So how does that all sound?
Sounds delicious.
Yeah.
Good? Okay, cool. So, like, a couple of you guys have been working with me, particularly you three, around success work, the upgrade work, all that sort of thing. So what I'm going to say next probably won't be so new. It's just going to be that little bit of introduction about how the brain works and how, and this is again what's been like happening with a lot of people. And again, I don't think it's different to what we all know. So we kind of know how the brain works. We've all done a lot of studies on it. We understand it, all that sort of thing. But to keep it really simple, the brain has turned into a little bit of a supercomputer where it's actually meant to be constantly given brand new information. But the way we live in our society is that we stick to routines and we stick to, you know, learning things from people through generational things and same information, and what's happening is our brains are getting bored because they're supercomputers. So with a supercomputer, technically what's happening is the computers in our head are literally just replaying the information that it's got in there because it's not getting brand new information, which is why people ruminate. You know, when you go to bed and your head like keeps telling the same old thing, because it's actually the processing of it is actually just, it's like having a computer without any access to the internet. So you want to get information, so the head like, oh, okay, we need information on this. So you're going into the computer and it's just going to tell you what you already know. So technically what's happening is we're moving into a place where our computer, which is our mind, is completely connected to the internet. So you think about it, this is your computer, you have a complete connection to the internet, and again it's wireless through your pineal gland with the universe, right? So technically, any information you need to get, you can just download it, right? Does that all make sense? So technically, we should never be stuck with anything. But how often do we get that way? We get stuck in our heads around what to do, blah, blah, blah. And this is why you keep going. If you ask the question, how do I get from here to there? It's just your head. It's the computer going, okay, let's do a search. But guess what? The head doesn't know. Because it needs to connect to the internet. And that's what we're going to be doing a lot today, is connecting to the internet, and we'll do a lot of it so that you will then, even if you are noticing you're ruminating, and I'll tell you how you can know if you're ruminating and how you're receiving information. So if you're actually ruminating, you're just going into your computer to get the information, which it doesn't know the information. So what do you think happens when that happens? If you're going into the computer to get the information and it doesn't know what it is.
You're just going to do the same thing over and over again.
It does, yeah.
We start to question. It's like, well, where did this come from? And then your
Keeps
analytical
going along.
mind just start to
How do you
question everything.
feel? How do you feel when that happens?
Stuck. Stuck.
Frustrating.
It feels horrible, right? So that's the first sign to know when you're going into the computer or if you're going to the internet. If you're in the internet, you will never feel that way. So if you're actually going into the computer and you're ruminating, I still do it. Like, you know, if you don't know something, you will go into your computer because that's how it's been designed. Like, it just is. So it takes a little bit of practice and consciousness and awareness to know what you're doing. So if you're feeling, and again, how long does it take sometimes to know if you're feeling bad? It takes sometimes ages, like days, to know if you're feeling bad. And it's like, oh, geez, I'm just going into my computer again to get the information that I don't know. So then it's just like, again, oh, that's right, we're always connected to the internet. We don't have to try.
Could be years sometimes. Hopefully that's in the past though.
What's that?
To know you're feeling bad.
It takes forever sometimes. Because again, you go into your head to work out why you're feeling bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're still not going to get the answer, but as long as you know that, then, and we don't want to make anything wrong or bad or anything like that. It's just that we're moving into different processes. So the first step in knowing if you're ruminating and just staying in this little circle of the computer is that you'll start to feel bad. So then it's like, oh, okay. So, and honestly, like, if you look at every single emotion, like, emotions are really natural, but honestly, if you look at every single emotion, you can still link it back to something in the computer that creates that feeling. But what we're doing is when we connect to the internet, like, and it's an unlimited internet, we're full of wonder, we're full of curiosity, we've surrendered to what we don't know. And that's where, if you don't know something, that is what you need to do, is say, that's what I was saying before. If you don't know something, just say, I just don't know. Now, if you then go, okay, so if I don't know something, how will I find out? So this is where it's really important to look at how you find out if you don't know. And everyone has different ways of finding out. Now, I don't know about you guys, but yeah, you can sit down and you can meditate or you can journal or whatever. But I find that puts a lot of pressure. And again, it's not as true or genuine information that comes through because you're putting, again, how often have you gone, okay, I feel like I need to write something.
Yeah.
And then you sit there and nothing comes through and you're like,
Yeah.
So who has some really cool activities that you know that you'll get that flow come through you?
Cool activities?
Well, okay,
Yeah,
housework?
Analogy.
I was gonna say driving. I think
Driving?
I've been really distracting myself a lot and maybe not wanting to listen. And I notice I get in the car and then it's like, boom, like everything starts being laid out for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm like, what? It never used to be in the car like that. So I'm like, oh, this must be the only place I'm not being distracted.
It's really where those channels are open. I just did a big burp for you too then.
Yeah.
Great. It's really important. So we'll talk about, like, for everyone. So for you right now, the car, like going for a drive or whatever, again, you can't try to do it. You'll just have to,
Used to be the shower, but I used to have a really like little nature view from my shower, and that was a big download place. Now I don't have that, so I don't know. It's shifted.
So for now, that will be. So if you kind of want to know some information, you can.
Fill up the car, go for it.
The other thing that's coming through is maybe going for a walk for you as well.
Yeah.
I'm seeing going for a walk as well.
Yeah.
That's what I do whenever I'm like trying to make something work in the office, and it's just like, buddy, what do you want to do? Bake a cake. So I go and cook a
Yes.
cake. Or, you know what, I'm just going to go for a walk, and then you're out walking. It's like, oh my God, that's the best idea.
Yes.
So that's been one great thing of being connected to devices. The distraction of them is not, but having your device to go, I've got this brilliant idea, quick little voice recording, or you know, use your notes and stuff, and then go, right, now I'm going to let that stew. And like years ago, I used to prepare a whole presentation for things back in Enlightened Goddesses days, or if I was running, you know, whatever I was doing, I would have the whole thing planned and I would memorize it, And now, like I ran a new event, brand new material last weekend. 2 days before, I'm like, come on, I have nothing. I don't even know what I'm doing. I know this and this, but like, how's that going to tie in? And so I had to be more disciplined and go, because I just moved house as well. So I was like, this is the day.
Yes.
We're going for a really big walk. We're going for breakfast. Then we're coming home and we're going to sit here and get it. And then I just went, boom, came back, nailed the whole thing, printed it all off, did the run sheets, boom, done, packed the stuff, and I was ready.
Yeah.
But in the past, I would not have been able to go and do something without.
Yeah.
But I haven't practiced this thing.
Yeah.
I haven't memorized it. I don't have handouts. And it was all brand new material, and I just said to the group, this is brand new, it'll either be really cool or be really shit, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Pay for it, let's see what happens. And it was
Exactly.
far more phenomenal than if I had tried to sit and work out what everyone there was going to receive from it or get enough benefit from or feel into it. So
Yeah.
I really had to surrender years ago and change that whole mindset of you have to sit down and you need to who, what, where, how, why, and you need to have the what if.
Because that's what we're
have
taught.
to do this and you have to sell
We're
them
taught
this
to visualise
point, see
it.
this
And,
bit,
yeah.
and now it's just like, guys, we're down to 48 hours. You're really leaving it late this time.
I'm hearing
okay,
you.
let's see how that goes.
Yeah.
And then, you know, of course, I had that material. I've changed things. I took things out of it. I went, that is so more advanced than this. That's not even relevant. Not doing that. Completely changed it. And it was one of the most. I run my retreats like that, but like that's also. I run them a lot, so I know it all. But it's just new work.
Yeah.
I hadn't actually applied that surrender to until I started reading this a little bit. And I did his work a long time ago. So I think it was a good reminder, even though I have some points of view around how old-fashioned his work reads now, is that reading it was like, yeah, this is 15 years ago when you read his work and did his stuff. This is osmosisly.
Yeah.
I have been doing that.
Yeah.
And when I try to control it or get frustrated, everything goes wrong.
Yeah.
So it was a really good reminder when this popped up. Was like, I've been thinking about Michael Singer. I gave the book to someone, and then you popped this up, and I was like, okay, I get it. Yeah.
There's a quick note. There's two things I want to talk about which you've actually brought up, which is fantastic, because there's that part where if you have enough experience of, come on guys, I've got 48 hours, and you've got enough experience to know that, okay, I know something's going to come, but I don't know when. Like, when we're talking about how, this is a how's masterclass. It's like, so how do we do that? Like, so it's like, how do we, like, we know that something's going to come, we know it's going to work out, but what do you do
That's the question.
while you're waiting?
Definitely, and I love that bit that you just said about the brain, the old computer that's not connected. It was like you definitely don't go into that space. You really are in a space of, I can't, in my brain I know how to do all these other things, but what am I going to do when it's something new?
Yes.
Or a different location, or people I don't know. So I've not looked at that analogy before.
It does take you into thinking again. Anything new, so again, I'm loving all the yawning and burping you're doing too. I think because you're a natural facilitator, so I think you're also doing that for everyone as well. So, but I think...
You can pay me later on the way out.
But I think that's good that you can identify the difference between, this is the thing, like sometimes it takes a while to identify. It doesn't matter if you're Nat or me or anyone, like we still go into those old processes, but you've got to know when you're doing that, and that's where those feelings will tell you, because I guarantee you pretty much, this sounds weird, but you'll pretty much never feel bad if you're constantly connected. Because the only reason we ever feel bad, because I even looked at grief, which I think is a very natural process, or supposed to be a very natural process, or even shock. Shock's a tricky one that I'm still working with, but it's like when you're out of your, like you're not in the computer, like ruminating, so it's not going around in circles, but it's constantly receiving. Literally, you never feel bad, and so technically, again, I'm going to explain this in ways, and I'll explain why I'm explaining it in this way.
Grief is just like thinking about how
it is.
Were. It's not like.
It's thinking about what they're not, what you're missing
they're
out
not
on.
able-
Yeah.
and like how the present should be. So you're like, in a way you're present and but you're still like pulled back by,
Attachment.
yeah, by how it was. And this is raw because we've got friends, like one had 2 suicides in our like extended circle, so nothing related to us, but a really good friend of mine's father committed suicide about 13 weeks ago now. And then a close friend of ours, partner, did leave about a year ago now. And so that's just something that I've been watching for them, like just observing since I've caught up with both of those people. Yeah, obviously you're not going to say it is just the past.
Can't ever.
Well, no, you wouldn't ever.
Yeah.
But looking,
It's more for you. Everything's for
yeah,
you.
it's for your own.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just really interesting. Again, you can like navigate. Like I say, don't take my word for it. See how it goes. Like, you know. So it's like look at all these feelings you have, and then actually know that if you're not feeling good, recognize you're literally just accessing old information, and it's a key and a sign. Oh, new information must need to come through if we understand this process of like how it works. But the reason why I'm out now talking about, as I want you to notice as I'm talking, what your head is doing, doesn't matter if you're visual or not visual, it's actually creating images. Have you noticed I'm talking about, information coming through, you kind of see your mind as a computer. Even Nat's talking about her experience with, in your mind you're creating images around. So whenever anyone's talking about something, your head is constantly creating images for you to understand. So this is
based on the old information, do you think?
Well, it's like a filter of that until again you can actually constantly receive images of the new information of what that looks like. But again, it's more for the head to understand, because we're still working with a head that needs to understand. But what happens is that when you are receiving information, so you can receive information around what the image looks like, but the image is the thing that's the most important part to rewrite the programs. Like, it needs to be an image. If you don't have an image, the head, it won't stick, like the ideas or the thoughts. So when you're receiving information and you're using the internet, the way that it forms it might be an image, or it might be, again, the image of a word, or it might be a video or something. But if you find that you've got a program in there that you don't want, you can just rewrite it with a different image. And that's where the image, so if, let's just say just say someone's trying to explain something to you, like, I can't get it. And this is like, again, when you're receiving information, I can't get it. You say, show me what that looks like. Then the head will create an image, or you'll receive an image. Now, this is where we're bringing in another area, which is your gut. So we're moving from the head being the processor for your gut to be the processor. The head is just the receiver and the storer of the information. So if you want information to stick, you have to have an image. Now, also another more powerful element to the image is then creating an association. So again, when you might meet someone, Nat, you'd be good at this. When you meet someone, how do you remember their name? You create an association around, well, you guys just did that this morning.
Yeah, we did.
When you arrived, oh, my sister's got your name, and blah, blah, blah. So you can see how the head works. The head naturally, for it to remember something, it'll create an association. And if you want to look into, I don't know if Jim Quick does this much. Have you heard of Jim Quick, who actually, he had a brain injury when he was a child, and they said he was the boy with the broken brain, and that he would never amount to anything. So he then set out to learn about quicker ways for his brain to be better. Now and it's Kwik, Quick, Kwik. Now, I've kind of not really, because I received this information, and then Jim Quick came along, and I got his book, and I'm like, so his book's Limitless, so that's a cool name, right? But I'm like, But then I got to the bit, there's one chapter, and he doesn't even explain it. There's one chapter with about 3 pages of talking about associations, and I'm like, there you go, dude. Like,
I think you did a quiz at one point.
I do quizzes back when I did.
Or am I dreaming? Or
No.
is it deja vu?
Yeah, so I would actually show clients how your brain works with associations. I mean, do you want to do it? If you've brought it up, maybe we can do it. Have I done it with you? No.
I think so.
Okay, let's do the quiz. So get your pen and paper. I'm going to show you how your brain works and how you use your brain to be a supercomputer. Okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get you to write down. I'm going to get you to write down these things that I say, and then each thing I say, I want you to create an image in your head of what that thing looks like. Yep. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to get you to write down is balloon. And I want you to create an image in your head of what the balloon looks like. What colour it is, the clearer the image, the better. Okay, so just create that image in your head. Okay, the next one I want you to, some of these you might even remember because it's in there. The next one I want you to see is a tree. So see the tree in your head. Look at what type it is, all that sort of thing. Okay. The next one I want you to see is a chair. Look at what type of chair it is, what colour it is. Make sure the image is super clear. The next thing I want you to write down is car. And then I want you to bring up the image of the car. Look at the colour of it, the type, make it super clear. And then the last one I want you to write down is bike. Yeah. And then I want you to see colour, type, all that sort of thing. Now these next things I'm not going to get you to write it down. I need you to then create an association in your mind, and I'll show you how you do that, but you don't need to write it down until I do the quiz, okay? So, I'm going to get you to go back to the balloon. Can you see your balloon? Is it clear? You've got the colour, all that sort of thing? Yep. Gail, can you see your balloon? Cool. Okay, now I want you to associate the balloon with grass. Now, a good way to create that, again, the image is to make a video of it. What is it doing with grass? And create that. Have you guys got that image? Can see it? Locked it in, Eddie? Okay, we go to the next one now. I want you to bring up the picture of the tree that you saw, and I want you to link it to fingernails.
Okay.
This is how you can learn, how you can, because you don't already have a link to the things I'm going to tell you. Yeah. So again, if you want it to be super clear, make a video of it, of how fingernails link to a tree. Yeah? Everyone's good? Bindi, you got it?
Yes.
Make it clear. You'll find if you don't have a clear image, you can't do it. Like, it's so weird. Okay, so bring up the chair that you saw. And then I want you to see a letter. Now, it can be a letter or it can be a letter. Can you see it?
Yeah.
Okay. Now I want you to bring up a picture of a car and a dog.
Yeah.
Oh, some of those images might not be good.
No, I'm going to change that.
Or it could be good. No, but that'll help you to remember. Again, you don't have to. Remember how they say try? Like they teach you the wrong thing at school as to how to learn. You don't have to try and do this. It's locked in, and this is how you use your brain as a supercomputer. Okay, now see the picture of your bike, and then link that to a wall poster. Okay. Got it? Good. Okay. Now I'm going to say the first thing. You're going to not try at all. I want you to watch how your brain works. And then I want you to write down next to it what you see and what it is. Okay? So balloon. Write down on there what the link is. See the balloon? So that's the secret, is to see the balloon, and then your brain will do the rest of the work. It'll just show you what it's linked to. Yeah? You got it, Gail?
I don't remember what it was linked to.
You don't need to remember. Okay, so go back to the balloon. You see the balloon?
Yep.
Just keep looking at the balloon.
Yep.
What's the balloon doing? Can you see it doing?
Looking at.
Okay, so then write down what it's linked to. Sometimes it takes a little bit of practice to make sure those images are super clear. Okay, tree. What's that linked to? So again, you just see the tree you had, and your brain should naturally do the work for you. See the tree, see the tree. If you don't have it, it'll be.
Are we trying to remember the second thing?
You're
that
not.
you said?
Yeah, you're not trying to remember it. You're looking at the association, so the link.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was the word that was associated
What was the
to
word
that
associated
image
to it?
in your mind?
Yeah.
What was the next
So-
image that comes up, basically? Is that right? How do you
Yeah.
think of
Based
it?
on what you said before to see.
Yeah.
But isn't that just remembering what you said?
It's you're not trying to remember, it just pops up by itself
Oh, okay.
as the link to the
Okay.
image.
Okay.
Which is why, again, like when we try and remember, we're not using our brains properly. We're actually, again, like, you know how, like, I don't know if anyone here can remember their phone number when they were growing up. You don't have to try and remember it. This is what we're doing. But this is how your brain works most effectively. And this is a great way, is again through images. So again, when you try and remember your phone number or a PIN number or something, it becomes natural, because remembering things isn't how it's meant to be. And that's how your brain works more effectively. So the way that we've been using our brains is not, again, for the supercomputer. Okay, so see the image of the chair. And what did you see? Have you done it already?
Yeah, me too.
Jeez. Okay.
And I've got a terrible memory, so it's not memory.
It's not. It's not.
Right.
Yeah.
No,
It's coming from something else. See the car. And see what that was linked to. Remember, we were laughing about it. So again, you'll bring that element in. Oh yeah. You have to think about it. And again, emotion. If you want to attach an emotion to it, it's even stronger. Which is why when we get triggered, it's all about associations. And the emotion makes it stronger. But it's just, again, going into what's in your head. You can rewrite it through changing the image. And then the feeling is different. And the bike.
Yeah, you said the car, didn't you? Yeah. Yeah, the bike.
You've got an upper hand though. So if you don't get this, it doesn't matter. It does take a little bit of practice again for your head to understand what it's doing, and then again also to have what I call anchors. So it's like it actually has other things that it can relate to. But this is where you guys can use your brains as supercomputers, and I want you to know that all your brains are supercomputers. We have been upgraded, like we all have been upgraded, and this is literally, well, this is the basis of what your brain can do. We're going to get more and more information around how good your brain actually is, and you'll see that we don't need it for ruminating anymore. Changing that system and that process from ruminating and, you know, accessing stuff that we already know to completely receiving new information and creating new folders, which will then change again everything, and again we can see the changes in the external. So balloon,
Grass.
you can see that. So you see a balloon floating along on the grass and popping maybe. Again, you can see how powerful it is when you bring an emotion in to an image, like the car and the dog. Okay. Tree. This is a hard one for a lot of people.
I saw your fingernails on the rock.
Yeah.
On the walkway bridge with your fingernails. I could see that.
That's a different
Admiring
one.
your fingernails as you're walking. And I went, okay, that's the fingernails. Yeah.
Did you get that one? For some reason in my head I've got random curly fingernails, really long fingernails that are curly. Again, that's just weird. So the weirder it is, the easier it is to remember as well. So again, it's kind of cool. Okay.
I hung mine from the tree and they're all shimmery. I think they were your fingernails. And then I turned it into a video, like you said.
Yes. And can you see the video? So you can see
Yeah.
the images are okay, and again you use your processing system to know, could it be this or could it be actually something even better, until you make that image so clear and it feels so good.
In the video, just the wind's blowing.
Yes. Makes it better. Is that getting too sunny? Tell me if it gets too sunny, I can just pull the... For some reason my chair has made itself lean and I'm very comfortable. Thank you. And I've got WA clothes. Who needs a top when you when you're in Queensland? Okay.
Chair.
Chair. Now this is super hard
Oh, really?
for some people.
The letter. I
Letter.
saw an alphabet letter, not a letter.
Most people see an alphabet letter. So yeah, cool. Car.
Dog.
That's what I was talking about. I was watching the dog going up and down the
Oh,
yeah,
that's
you know, when you drive along,
cute.
and I thought,
Yeah.
oh, this is really cool, and then it goes, yeah, that's what I was watching.
Cool. And then bike.
Yeah.
Poster.
Yeah. So this is how your brain works. If you want your brain to remember something, create an association like what we did this morning. And this is technically all you need to do. Now, if you find that you have something in there, it's kind of not what you want, create a new association, create a new video, and even better, create a really, really firm feeling linked to it, and it'll rewrite your head. You can't see, and this is what's good about the prophecies. When you get this information, and this is why I'm doing this exercise, I want you to see the images your head is giving you and start creating the links, and you'll find it'll rewrite your old information in your head. Because once you see it, you can't unsee it.
So we're creating this to remember or to create a new story. Or did you just say?
The remembering will be very natural, so it'll naturally be there. So what happens, it pretty much lifts your consciousness probably 5-fold, because what you're actually doing, the way your head, and this is why I want you guys to bring up everything that doesn't feel good, any stories, anything, and it can be rewritten again through the information that we receive, through the images that you see, because then your gut, when the gut's processing it, it'll know, it'll feel truth.
Okay.
And we won't stop until everyone feels truth around things. And then once you feel truth and you've got the image in your head around what that looks like, that's rewritten any other old stories, any other old programs, any other old beliefs, anything around.
So a person you don't like, you create a new association.
Well, what we can do is we receive new information around that situation, which will then, because when we receive the information, your head will process it through the image, your gut's processing it through truth, and then your head will create a new folder which will overwrite the old folder about the person, because you'll see it completely different, you'll have a different understanding around the person, you'll see why it's there, what it's meant to do, all that sort of thing. Does that make sense? But again, we'll do lots of
Kind
examples.
of like a bigger picture. Like, okay, someone does something bad, but then the bigger picture is, oh, that was for my growth, or is that what you mean? Like,
Well, that will be what you already know. We want to get brand new information, completely different to what we, like everything that we know right now, it'll be completely different to that. Because you can see, like, when you go, oh, that was just for my learning or whatever,
Yeah.
that's so blah.
Yeah.
Can you see how it's blah? So
Yes.
then you go, okay, cool, there's something I don't know. And the blah is saying you're actually going into your head to get the information, whereas we're ready for complete brand new downloads. So we're all going to get completely brand new downloads. So technically, everything you think about life, yourself, the world, everything else will be completely different after today, because we want to download the new information, which will then rewrite all the old information. But your gut will tell you if that's it, or if there's more, or if it's blah, or if it's relevant, or whatever else. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Like, even what I'm saying now, and like, ask questions and everything else, interrupt me, because if it doesn't feel right, it means that your head needs more information to download to then, sorry, sweets.
Yeah.
Sorry, you're showing that. Can you share
You look
your
actually
thoughts?
very comfortable. I like your little setup there. Yes.
Can you share your thoughts when you pre-exempt something and something that shows up? You're like, did I create it this?
That's
Or-
still your head. So what you would say is, I don't know what's happening.
Yeah. Or it actually showed up.
That's
You
just
least
literally
expect it.
showing you how the universe works with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
It's like, and I was going to
It's
bring this
like-
up. This was another thing that I wanted to say what Nat said before. Are you going to grab a chair?
No, I was going to just go to the toilet, but I'll listen to that.
Oh,
and then I'll go.
So Michael Singer says, like, if you listen to his podcast and everything else, he says that we don't actually affect anything. Life happens and it's how we react to it as to what our experience is. But I've worked with too many people to know that when we change external influence, other things do change. So when I asked the universe, I said, hey, what's going on with that? That doesn't make sense. So the universe actually said to me, Michael Singer's philosophy around surrendering and that things just change naturally by themselves is actually proving to him that that's what's happening.
Yes.
yeah.
Validating.
So that's
So,
validated.
but he doesn't see it that way. So again, this is what I'm saying, there's two different truths. His truth is true,
Well,
and then
I
I've gone, that doesn't feel true. Then I've got a new truth, and I've gone, oh, that makes sense now.
And
But to him, he's not seeing it that way.
his truth was 15 years ago also.
This is a podcast recently.
Oh, right.
And he doesn't say that in the book. So I'm listening to the podcast going, what the hell are you talking about? That's completely different to my experience. Again, your experience can be different to someone else's experience.
Yeah.
You can't tell them that what they think is not true. Your experience, you need to say, if that doesn't feel right, then you actually have to say, okay, so why does that not feel right? Because that means there's new information that needs to come through for it to sit with you, for that to then be true for you. And then watch, because the next week later it might not feel right, because it means there's more information to come through. So this technically means that Michael Singer says, well, we're not victims to the universe, but we are like, we're just floating around in the universe and things are going to happen regardless. But to keep a philosophy and to stick to it keeps you in a philosophy that you stick to. Now again, if it works, so it works for him to be that way, but again, that feels good to him, so he will continue that story around how he lives. But when he said that, I'm like, that doesn't feel right. I'm not saying he's wrong. My head wanted to say that, but I'm like, that doesn't feel right either. So let me see what's happening. And it's like, but again, like, even if you say, well, he couldn't see what I can see, that's still the ego going, oh, but he didn't see that. So again, it still wants to keep making things right and wrong. So you really got to just let things sit and then know that that's not the ultimate truth. It's just one truth. And then that keeps evolving. So that's where everyone has different truths, and it's not that one truth is the same. And if someone like maybe Michael Singer wants to stick with his truth because it feels good to him, that's his pathway. And no one can ever say that that's a right or wrong truth. If it doesn't feel good, that means that you're meant to receive new information. And you can see when I do that, it's creating an image in your head of how it works, so that until you feel that you've got all the information you need for now about that thing, you've got to keep going. I call it complete or not complete.
So yeah, I've got a project going on at the moment that I'd like to resolve, evolve, if you will. And I went ahead with this and it didn't work. It came to a stop. And yeah, there was a moment I went, oh, you know, negative thinking, negative saying and words and everything. But then I was mindful of what were the words I'm saying and that sort of stuff. And I went, okay, if not now, if not this person, if not this, then something better's coming. And it's just a matter of watching yourself, catching yourself, and then letting it go and surrendering. So not now, then something better coming along. And then ideas just started
So
coming
how
in.
does that feel when you receive
Really
that
cool. When
information?
I really allow myself to let this emotion come through, it felt fine.
Yeah.
Whereas 10 years ago, I used to stew on it for days.
Yeah.
Now, I'm just like, oh well.
That's a great example of what truth suits you now. And you can see you don't feel good, which means it's not true, the stories that your head was telling you.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's not true, or it's technically not true. Thanks, Matt.
I'm trying to be very quiet. If it was my event,
You're doing so well there.
But yeah.
It's saying that, again, your head was just telling you what it knows. Like, oh, I've done something wrong, or it's failed, or it's not worked out. Whereas what I'm actually saying, let's say from my experience, is actually things that happen always lead to something else, even if it looks like they're not. So again, and it's like, so even if you look at that, is there a failure, or is there a you know, didn't work out or whatever, when they always lead to something else? But can you see your head wants to jump in and go, but no, it's meant to work out all the time. But then who's to say that it didn't work out?
Yeah.
But you just can't see it, and again, that's where you can keep tuning in.
I don't know how this is going to work out. And I went, okay, that's okay. If not now, if not this person, if not this, then something
But
better.
let's just say when that concept doesn't sit well with you, it's more information to come through around that. So there's a new concept around. So that's what I'm saying. Like, truths can change all the time, and so you can say, yeah, that feels really good, cool. But watch, if you keep getting those thoughts popping up again and again, it means that there's a new one that needs to be created. Not created, received. And so then you will receive new information. And so technically, if you can imagine, again, in our images, that we're just like walking along and we're constantly receiving new information all the time. You watch, if you walk down the street, you watch your head process everything from its old... Like, so if you practice walking down the street saying, I know nothing about what I'm looking at, you watch all the new information come through around what's going on. And so that's where we're going to start to see new things. This is what the prophecies are all about. We're going to see new things. We have to, but we have to surrender to what we don't know and start moving into I don't know. So the reason why I brought Michael Singer into this theory, let's just call it, is... And if you read the book or didn't read the book, it doesn't really matter. He's got really good examples around how he said, I don't know, and he let it go. Now, he's got a different scenario around how the brain works and how he just let his and he just watches it. So he's a really good observer of his mind. So, and then he just escaped into meditation, and that's what was his main focus, right? So the thing is that he had a focus on meditation and surrender. And then what happened is that whenever anything else happened, he just said, meditation, surrender, meditation, surrender. Like, he just linked that. So this is where it's really important to have a focus on what is important to you. And for him, and we will go into this a bit later, for him, it was surrender and meditation. So he applied that to everything. So even when someone moved into his house and his brain's just going, that was the one thing I just thought, my brain would not let that happen.
But it's also cool to see that he was like, because he writes a little, oh my God, and then it happened.
Yes.
So it was a really good to see from time to time he'd write about like the real human capacity to not be okay and trying to control something.
Yes.
Rather than this whole, and then you won't believe what happened. You know, the
It's
acres of
so
land came up and I bought it. Yeah, but what about when you weren't like that, buddy? Tell me more about that. So it was
It's
really
so
good to
good.
see that.
It's so good how he explains when the head jumps in and says, how dare you move into my house? This is my house, blah, blah, blah. And then he just went, meditate and surrender, like trust again. And then all of a sudden his dream house turned up in the next door and he moved into his dream house. The other thing that's really crazy is that they had $12,000 short to build something, and he lives in the woods where nothing is, and then all of a sudden there's a check in the mail for $12,000 from someone anonymous. Like, again, when you look at the hows, can you see that we have to have, like, our heads need to understand the how, like we have to actually have an understanding of how the hows work. And this is why what I'm sharing with you guys is the hows have to be based around the focus, which is, and we started talking about the things you can do to keep your focus. So, you know, you were saying going for a drive or whatever, that helps you to keep a focus. And then later on, we'll actually talk about things that are important to you, so you know that relates to everything, because it's your core morals and values and everything else, not linked to what the head has learned, that you're true. Like I've been given this core moral and value, which my head just says, we're not doing that, because I wasn't taught that. And that's really interesting to navigate, because it's like, yeah, again, how do you do that when that's your core value and it's not something you've been taught? It's very, very interesting, and you watch your head jump in all the time. But that is good. And that's why the book is good to see. And sometimes, this is what I do, sometimes when my head tries to jump in, I go, but Michael Singer did it, and look what happened. So with the prophecies, the big thing about the prophecies and what they showed me is the reason why this book is such a great reference is because he, at the beginning of his story, he just talks about, you know, he didn't really have a focus of where he wanted to go, what he wanted to do, which again, we've been told to visualize it, you know, make it happen, manifest it, all that sort of thing. But I'm kind of seeing yes, we can do that, but what I'm seeing being delivered is far more than what we could have ever thought. Again, you know, if we think of something and then we get it, it's like, that's something that's a given now. And then some people say, well, no, I want to win the lottery, or I want to get the house or whatever. But it's like, which one feels good? Because again, the universe is reacting to your feelings and your thoughts. So if you say, I want that, but your feeling isn't good about that, that's where it's actually not going to work.
Okay.
So the next step up is, what if we don't do anything and see what happens?
Yeah.
Which is, again, what Michael Singer did, right? So that, to me, even though the head goes, but you're supposed to manifest what you want and stuff like that, that kind of, I don't know, doesn't feel like I need to do that anymore. Because it's like, what else is there that could possibly happen that could be completely different to what I could ever imagine? So let's just talk about, like, what you're meant to be doing and all that sort of thing. So what he did was he started doing, you know, university, and he started, you know, studying and doing all that sort of thing, right? And then he just got bored of that. So then he said, I just want to meditate in the woods, right? And this is literally how it all started. So again, people go, but I'm not going to get paid to meditate in the middle of the woods. Like, you've got to surrender. You've got to actually just go, I don't know what this amazing pathway is going to, and again, relate back to the story. He really took, I mean, we say he took a big risk, but at the end of the day, he had nothing to lose. Like, we've all got so many people in our lives and things like that we need to, responsibilities and all that sort of thing. So it is something that you need to really be strong about, and keeping your mind focused on letting the universe show you this amazing pathway that you don't even know is ready for you. You might think, I've got to do this, I've got to do that, or whatever, but it's like, you've got to let all of that go and see what's coming, because that's what the prophecies are saying. Well, what's going to be coming is completely different to what we already know, because what we already know is in the computer that's going around in circles. We're getting new information, and we want to be stepping into what this new thing. So the jobs that are going to be created soon do not even exist right now. And this is why I want to bring up Michael Singer, because do you think that when he was meditating in the woods, he said, I'm going to be this multi-billion-dollar computer programming company and do all that? Computers weren't even existing when he started his journey, but he would never have got there if he didn't actually meditate in the woods. So you know, when we're talking about, you know, going for a walk or going for a drive or doing those things, you don't know what that's creating, and this is helping you to actually balance those hows, like to work in. So we'll talk a little bit more around like what those things are. So Nat, you were talking about, you know, going for a walk or doing things to get the information, and again surrendering to it. And it's like, what kind of things did you notice that when you go, okay, I've got 48 hours to go, what helped you to get from that 48 hours? Like, what did you notice was your experience for these guys to use as an example in their heads to then refer back to? Like, what helped you to get through that?
Well, surrender. It was just like, well, it's going to come, but I need an outline. And then, you know, I can't get that sitting in front of a computer. I can't get that in pen and paper. So to take a big walk, and so what I always do anyway to prepare before something is when I first started rerunning retreats, I was back in planning mode and think and this is this and this, and I still do have all of that. I always have all of that, but I started to realise that I wasn't actually preparing for a 4-day retreat for 10 people. I just had the information, what I knew I needed to do, and I was distracted. Like, I'm just going to go and pack the boxes. I'm just going to go and pack what I need. I'm going to go and, you know, get their presents ready. I'm going to go and work out the food. I'm going to do the shopping a week earlier. You know, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. So I was like, why am I doing all of these practical, laboursome things, but I'm actually not doing anything about the content? And then I started on my walks or driving or showering or whatever, like dreaming what it was going to be like. Oh yeah, so we're going to do this, and this would be like this, and this is what it would feel like. So I really went out of the head and tapped into not visualising it, but feeling it. Okay, if we do this, I could do it under that tree. It'd be really good under that tree. And the first shamanic retreat, I had everything done, more planned rather than in flow. And 2 days before I got this download, well, you need to do a medicine wheel journey. I was like, I have no idea what that even is. And I was like, you know, there'll be lots of big rocks on that property, and Kelly has rocks on her property. I'll just ask her husband to bring a trailer, which he did, a trailer full of rocks. And I knew where it could go under this tree alcove, and we put it all together under there. And so then I went to the practical and went, right, it would need to be a journey with power animals, and then let's do some colouring, painting, because that would be creative, and let's do a meditation, and let's do all of this. I had all the material, and then when it came to do the medicine wheel, I thought, oh cool, I know what we're going to do based on all these formulas and proven stuff that look like this. Then when we went up to the medicine wheel, they stepped one at a time. They stepped in, and I asked a question: and what are you releasing to serpent? And all hell broke loose, and I was like, oh, I didn't know that was going to happen. And that process has now become the biggest part of that whole 4-day retreat. Women screaming into the earth, women moving from that to going, oh my God, I'm so joyful. I was like, oh, I didn't know what that was going to be. I thought it was going to be to-do, and it wasn't. And I didn't have a knowing for it. So that's what's been really good about going back to that book, was like, oh, I didn't know that was what I was doing. Because I was just trusting, like you said a few times today, what they're telling me, what they're giving me. I was like, I didn't really acknowledge that's what was happening. It was just like, oh, I'm just going to do this, still as though my brain had thought to do it, rather than actually, where is that coming from?
And now that you've seen that, you can now rely on that as a process to get the house. So this is why, again, when we're wanting to get the house, I want to show something too, which again will really help you as well with your processing, because you can see again the whole time when you're receiving all that, like first off when you didn't receive it, and then also when you had the urge to pack the boxes or the whatever, you can see that everything is all based around how you feel. So you felt like doing that, and then you feel. So what happens is that when we're actually in that intermediate stage, you do what you feel like doing, which leads
not forcing something else.
Yes. So again, when you're in the house, I feel like having a shower. I feel like sometimes I feel like just flopping down in front of the TV, watching TV, and then you get the information from, you know, like. So this is where it's really good to have these, like I call them activities. The thing is there does need to be an action thing. If you just sit there, I say there has to be an action thing, but I just got told, Kim, you don't use that process. Because one of the things I do is have a nap. and that intermediate stage, like, and I don't do it to try, I just know that I feel like having a nap. And then when I have a nap, I get all my good stuff as I'm drifting off.
Yeah, same.
Yeah. So again, you can rely on these processes when you don't know the hows. Oh, I'm feeling frustrated or whatever. Okay, obviously I'm going through this. Okay, what is my activity? What is the thing that I feel? You've got to do some, even if the action is sleeping, it's still an action. Or
Changes
even
the
if
state of being, isn't
it
it?
is. Well, again, that's the be, do, have. Yeah?
Mm.
This is what they teach. This is what it looks like. This is what it feels like. So this is where you can actually rely on these processes. And you guys, like, again, you don't have to have I have to drive and that has to be the thing. What do you feel like doing? And it's all feeling based. So Nat, it's good that you've seen what her processes are, but you can also see that all of it was intuitive. So it's like, okay, it doesn't feel good to think about 48 hours. It doesn't feel good. Okay, don't do that. What do I feel? Oh, I feel like going shopping. I feel like I feel like, so those action steps facilitate the movement. I mean, the universe is a changing universe. So when we do quantum work, we don't have to do anything other than look at what's happening and it changes by itself. We don't have to do anything. We just have to follow whatever we feel like doing. So then when we talk about, doing your passion projects and all that sort of thing, it's like, just do whatever you feel like doing.
Some of the techniques that I do when coming up with some ideas or whatever, I write them down. I just got a notebook and it's got everything in it. So I write them down and then I just leave it.
Yeah.
And things like looking at the TV, or it's like, I don't feel like, but I also look at, okay, what are the things I'm really grateful now? What have I got? What do I have and that I'm really grateful for? And it kind of puts me in a space where I'm like, actually, I am enough. I've got everything around me. I'm so good. And then I think about my business and I said, why did I start up this business? What was my why? And I went, I'm doing it. It's happening now.
Yeah.
I'm so grateful I've come to this point, So it's a reminder for myself why I want to do my business, because I wanted to create more time and more freedom, flexibility and everything. So if there's something that I desire or need or want, whatever word you want to say, I just drop them down and I let it go.
Yeah.
And then a few weeks later I look at my page and I went, oh, that happened. Oh, yeah, that's all good. Awesome.
Yeah.
So I forget and surrender. And there's other things like if I wanted to get a new car, I look up and what kind of car. I want to be really specific,
Yeah.
And it's like going shopping, and then I look at cars are showing up when I'm driving. And I went, oh, just thinking about that car this morning. Ooh, I can see myself driving in that. That looks cool. Should I make that call? Nah, I don't have the money right now. But then I just had to you know what? There's no harm in asking. So it's just taking that little nudge, taking that little step, challenge myself to do that. And sometimes just let it go, There's no harm in asking.
Again, whatever feels good. So even like you've just done what Nat was saying Michael Singer does, is go through and talk about the processes. And then you can see, I don't have enough money for that. That doesn't feel good. So that's just like giving you information that you don't know, so that you can actually just go into what do I feel like doing? Because you know what, another thing that you could do, maybe, yes, if challenging yourself feels good, challenge yourself. Like, go for it. That's awesome. I don't really like challenging myself. So what I do is I find, okay, if there's something I want to do, I go, cool, I know that it'll just happen when it's meant to happen. So all of a sudden I'd be finding myself driving into do you know what I mean? Like, it's just naturally happening because the universe, it does it for you. Well, it does it for you. You don't have to do anything. It'll actually do it all for you when you actually just let it go and just go, okay, well, that's just, if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. If it's not, it's not. It just won't. But this is where, again, if it's really meant to be, it'll come to you. And it's just we've just got to again use our, you can see everything you talk about, being grateful, all these things are really important in showing you where to go and what to do. And you can see your head's trying to work out, okay, so how do I relate that back to that? How do I relate that? We don't need to do that. We can just okay, what do I feel like doing? And it's also a fine line working out what do I feel like doing, to what it doesn't feel good, and if that's, you know, that thinking element or whatever, like it's just learning to tune into your gut and actually navigating all of that, which, you know, is a great, like you've got that great experience, so you can just keep using that until that's, you know, ready for an upgrade again and you go into something else. So yeah. What about you, India? What's something that you can do that tends to?
I'm like you, Esther. I'd like to write things down and leave it.
And then go and do something else?
Yeah, let it percolate for sure.
Cool.
Yeah.
And then what have you noticed happens when you do that?
Then just little pieces drop in easily. Yeah.
And you also find that things pop up as well, like when you need them, people pop up.
Yeah.
You know, like when,
And I
with
have
your
a chuckle.
project, with the neighbours and all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Crazy.
I wanted to ask, I just got a new car actually, so I just went through this process, but I was like, right, I need a new car, dropped in, got this money come, or the money was about to come. I have no idea about cars. What kind of car do I want? No clue. At the shopping centre, parked next to this car, and the lady came back to her car. I was like, oh, I really like your car. What kind of car is this? It was at night. I thought, oh, I hope she doesn't get freaked out. But it was in the Coles car park at Pigeon Springs. Oh yeah, I love my car.
That's okay, that's helped with my imaging.
Yeah. Oh, it's a Hyundai Kona. I love my car. It's the smallest SUV. Blah blah blah. It's so good on petrol. Gave me the whole rundown about the car.
Oh, what? So you had a salesperson
and then I
doing
just
it.
sat in my car and I looked up on Marketplace Hyundai Kona. Oh, there's one in Karoi. Message, and then I said, oh, my brother had said, don't ever buy a car from a car dealer. And I was like, oh, wait, are you a dealer? And he sort of was a dealer, but he doesn't sell second. Anyway, what my brother was saying is, don't go to a dealer who's going to sell the car that you're trading in, because you always get ripped off. So, but this was another thing, because my car that I had was not going to be like a roadworthy. So then I was like, what am I going to do with that car? I've sold a car unregistered before, but you tend to get like bit dirty people, and I didn't feel like safe doing that, so then I'm going to have this other car. So anyway, next day, go out to Karoi to this guy. He has 3 Hyundai Konas, so I'm like, okay, all in one go, look at 3, and then just like picked one. And then he's like, oh, what are you doing with that car? And I was like, I have no idea, because I'd already told him. I parked out the front. I said, oh, it leaks oil, it's like got all these problems, because I didn't know anything about this guy, or that he would even offer me trading. And then he just said, I'll buy it off you. And then he said, oh, $2,000. And then when I went home, I was like, oh, I hadn't even like considered this. And then I messaged him, oh, would you give me 3? And then he's like, yeah, done. Come tomorrow, you can drive out with the car. And I'll do everything.
Oh,
Just
wow.
driving in this car, driving in that. Like it took like 2 days or something.
Yeah.
But that night, my daughter had a fever, and my mind was going, fuck, this is really easy. Should I do this? I haven't thought about this. I haven't thought any of this through. Like I started to complicate everything that was just happening really
what should
easily.
have, would have, could have done, or what
Yeah.
should, you know, and
So,
And that's what happens sometimes when it is really easy. The brain's like, I don't understand. So again, like this is why these conversations are really important, so that the brain understands, no, this is how it works. We've got lots of examples in here around how
well,
it all
it's really
works.
easy. And I had done a little picture, and I was like, what features does someone even want in a car? I didn't even know. I just sort of wrote them down. But what I want to ask you, I have noticed that I am really good at manifesting or creating like physical things that I can, like a house or then a car, but other things not as much. It's like if I guess it is getting the picture. I can get the picture of those things much easier.
And also the feeling.
What's
Yeah.
it gonna feel like driving this car? It's gonna feel
So you're really good at
good.
that, which is good. But this is where, like, say for something else,
Yeah, like how do
So
I get the
your
job
brain's-
where I feel amazing?
your
How
brain's
do I
trying to
get the
work it out. So this is
relationship?
where you need to receive it, and this is where you'll get that information today. So we'll do that. Any of you guys like with ideas around how to get information? Like, how do you like to when ideas come to you?
It leads me down a track.
What are you
Like,
doing when it happens?
I'll be thinking of one thing, and then something will take me off, and then I'll say, oh, well, this is interesting. I thought, oh, that's exactly what I was looking at for.
Right.
So sometimes
Yeah,
mine leads
that's cool.
and gets me to where I want.
That's awesome.
And then I say, okay, what am I? And then other times I just say, right, what is it I need to know now?
Yeah.
And it'll just come.
I love that.
And I
You
do,
wiggle your nose.
yeah. And I do a lot of, I had stopped for a while, art journaling. And lately it's just been coming back the messages.
Yeah.
So I've been writing again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. That's cool. So you can rely on that process. So,
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you, Gail? When do you notice you get really good ideas? Random thoughts and ideas that are really helpful.
When I'm not busy, when I'm not. And sometimes at night when I'm going to sleep.
Yeah.
There's usually something will come.
Yeah, I'm good at that one too. Yeah.
It must be when you switch in between
Yeah.
here and there, and not enough, because I'm actually tired. It's driving me nuts actually. It's actually driving me nuts.
Oh wow.
Yeah, but it's alright. It's okay.
Well, that's good. You can rely on that again, like when you're going to bed. So instead of trying to work stuff out, you go, okay, I just know that when I'm going to sleep, it'll just pop in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably the fact is just saying that's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Not go, oh, what the hell's going on? Because sometimes it's random.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's random.
That's the best kind.
I know. Like, what the hell was that?
Yeah. So that's when you know, again, you're not trying to work it out. So you do, this is why the word or the concept of surrender is really important, is that when you say that, like this is why we've talked about each person has their own little way of, so you can rely on that now. So when you don't know the hows, you can go, oh, just go to my process. And again, the process is, I'm going to go to bed knowing it'll just pop in if I need to. And you can go with a clear mind. You won't have to think, you won't have to ruminate or anything like that, which is when most people do that, is when they're going to bed, they're overthinking and all that sort of thing. But you can actually say, well, no, I can go to bed and not even think about anything because I know it's just going to pop in what I need to know.
I love the 2-3 o'clock in the morning thing.
Oh, yeah.
Bang, and I'm like, okay, all right, where did that come from? You know, and everything.
Well, it's the internet.
And it's becoming more prominent
Yeah.
this year than it ever have, you know. So some of them are extraordinarily weird, and you know, it's like, how does that, whatever, you know. And that's why I raised the question: how do you know the difference between pre-exempting and something popped up and you don't know? It's like, did I create that? You know. So, and then eventually something that came in my 2 o'clock in the morning mind, chatter or whatever image, messages, it comes to life very soon after. It be a few days or weeks or something like this.
And so what does this tell like all of us? What does it tell all of us if this is all our experiences? What does it tell you?
That we have the answers.
Yeah, we have the answers, we're connected, it's happening for us. So we're going to have a little bit of a break.